dinosaur wars.
We will compare these two into three categories: overall quality, button layout, and directional pad. Here's the Super Nintendo controller. Dog bone shaped, 4 buttons in a diamond shape, which is revolutionary because modern controllers are still using this pattern. A basic D-pad, start, select, and shoulder buttons. It's a great controller, but there's some issues with it. The controller doesn't solidly secure in your hands. There's no support for your other fingers to steady the controller as you push down buttons. The controller wobbles a bit, and the buttons feel a little spongy, like they don't spring back fast enough. Here's the Genesis controller. 6 buttons, start, a floating D-pad, and a mode button, which is rarely used. One of the best D-pads ever made. Really springy buttons. Has nice support handles that all modern controllers use. Genesis wins this round. It fits better in your hand with more support and comfort, higher quality buttons, and the better D-pad. Now I move on to button layout. The Genesis has a real arcade-friendly controller. The layout is almost the same as it is in the arcade. The Super Nintendo controller has the 4 diamond layout, with 2 shoulder buttons. The shoulder button can be awkward to pull off moves in Street Fighter, but it really shines in games like Mega Man when you need that extra finger to charge up. Modern controllers still use the layout that the Super Nintendo had. The Genesis layout is good, but some games 6 buttons might be a bit much for one thumb. The Super Nintendo wins this round. The diamond button layout has proven to be effective even to this day. The shoulder buttons are good for charging up and running games. The last round, the directional pad. The Super Nintendo controller only had 4 directions on it, with sharp corners. The transition from different directions felt a bit jagged on this controller. The Genesis D-pad is probably the best one out there. A floating D-pad that transitions smoothly between directions and is really comfortable. If you take a closer look at the Genesis D-pad, you can see that it has a better design. The D-pad is really important because it's what your thumb touches in every game at all times, and the Genesis D-pad just outclasses the Super Nintendo D-pad. So in the end, Genesis wins better controller.